Hello, and welcome to the Animal Training Academy Making Ripples podcast show, the show where we share the stories of the ripple-making extraordinaires with behavior nerd superpowers who make up the Animal Training Academy membership. I'm your host and one of the happiness engineers at Animal Training Academy, Shelley Wood from Drop Your Jaws Dog Training in Cape Girardeau, Missouri in the United States. We're absolutely thrilled and grateful to have you here with us today. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single episode. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Animal Training Academy membership. So if you like the conversations in these episodes, then we want to invite you to continue them with like-minded people in the ATA membership, which you can find out more about at www.atamember.com. Within the membership, you can get access to twice monthly live web classes, the back catalog of previous web class replays, plus a huge library of videos and projects to help you problem solve your training challenges. And we're a sociable bunch with an exclusive private Facebook group and forums area. It's like a Netflix social media platform for animal behavior geeks. Today we are excited to welcome back to the show Ryan Cartlidge. Ryan has worked professionally with animal behavior and training since 2007, spending his career in and alongside zoological organizations across Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States. He has supported and trained entire teams of zookeepers and brings a wealth of practical experience to his work. Ryan is a certified professional dog trainer through the Karen Pryor Academy, a fear-free certified professional, a family Paws Parent Educator, and a level 1 certified TAGteach instructor. He is also the founder of Animal Training Academy, an online education platform dedicated to helping aspiring animal trainers maximize their positive impact on both animals and people through education, community, and expert support. Above all, Ryan is deeply passionate about behavior, learning, and animal training and brings an infectious enthusiasm that inspires others to geek out right alongside him. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me on your podcast show, Shelley. It's a pleasure to be here. You are a fantastic host and grateful for everything that you do.
Well, thank you for coming on this ATA podcast show with me today, Ryan. I'm super excited to have you here with us. And thank you for the idea for this awesome podcast, which has been going, we were just talking before we hit record, has been going for exactly 5 years now. This will be the 60th episode, I believe. So it was a great idea that you had, and thank you for that.
I was just going to say, I love that you've been doing this, for 5 years, because one thing I'm not short of is ideas. But I would say out of every 100, one actually sticks because it has enough reinforcement in it, but also the resources and the persistence and the dedication to keep it going past the initial idea. I find for me, and then maybe you listeners, when you run a business or doing training, there's a lot of reinforcement, for me anyway, and ideas creation. I get so enthused and excited about ideas, but then the actual follow through, when you realize everything you need to do and all the resources and the time and the commitment and the persistence, I find that part doesn't necessarily always match in reinforcement value. So I love that out of all of the many, many, many ideas that I come up with, and that I put to somebody like you, just instantaneously said yes. I love that. I love that this one has stuck and stood the test of time. That's pretty cool.
I love that it is stuck and stood the test of time as well. And I think you had it right the first time, though, when you said that we have been doing this for 5 years, because it certainly has been a team effort for sure. And you have not only came up with the idea, but have provided the support needed to make the show a continued reality. And not only is this show 5 years old, but we're also celebrating the 10th anniversary of Animal Training Academy. Is that right?
Yeah, there's another idea that stuck is Animal Training Academy and the membership, which is what has enabled it because it provides resources. It's a business, so it's that side of the academy. These podcast episodes are obviously free, but they are supported and maintained through the membership. And I was recently working with another business mentor. I've worked with lots of business mentors over the years, but I was working with this recent one, and he highlighted for me the size of the Animal Training Academy audience, which is in the tens of thousands if you take into our email list and take into account our email lists in particular, as well as our social media reach, and the possibility to bring value to that audience in alternative ways other than the membership. And I was grateful for that opportunity being made visible to me because I wasn't seeing it. I'm so tuned into the membership. But I remember back till the academy's 10 years old. The membership's I think about 9. It took me about a year to start the actual membership side of things, and a lot of people went to our membership through our trial membership. That's a great way to see what's inside and to understand what's inside. And I remember when I sold a dollar trial back 9 years ago, and we had like probably 2 members or something at the time. I got very excited, and I told my wife, "Hey, we made a sale today." And she's like, "How much was it for?" And I said $1. Very excitingly. And she said, "Ryan, how's that job searching thing going for you?" And I thought to myself, I'm totally unemployable because I could get a job. I just wasn't going to take a job. You didn't want to employ me. And so the membership idea has been another one that stuck. And grateful for that it did, because I get so much reinforcement from the membership and absolutely love it, doing it, participating in it, running it. Yeah, it brings me a lot of reinforcers.
So, Animal Training Academy has multiple components. You just mentioned a couple of those, the podcast and then the membership as well. I wonder, I always assume that people who are listening to this show know what Animal Training Academy is, but I realize that they might not, they might have just they might have just been very lucky and stumbled across this wonderful show, or they might stumble across it years from now. So could you kind of just in a nutshell tell folks what the Animal Training Academy is?
Yeah, well, in a nutshell, we provide dedicated animal trainers or animal training enthusiasts with on-demand access to expert knowledge and supportive community so that they can confidently solve any training challenge with ethical, science-based methods.
And is that what you had in mind when you started Animal Training Academy?
No.
Could you share a little bit with us about the origin story, how Animal Training Academy started and what you did have in mind at that time?
Yeah, it started through an online course called Animal Training 101. I'm not super creative with names, so the Animal Training Academy podcast show is the other. I think this one's more creative, Making Riffles. I love this, and this is the name for this show, if you remember, Shelley, came through polls and posts in our membership community. So it was one that the members of our academy, our wonderful community, came up with. But we created it. We being me and a friend of mine who helped me create this online course, put it online. I was employed at the time in a zoo, and I sold some animal training courses. And I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. This could be a fun way to explore moving my career forward." And I loved working in zoos, still love working in zoos, but I wanted more from life in terms of uh, ceilings of financial availability. So I think as an employee in zoos, there's kind of a ceiling, and then there's to be on the ground working with the animals, and then there's minimal positions regionally to do animal training specifically. So to get an opportunity to do one of those positions is quite rare. Because I worked in zoos as a non-animal trainer, and that wasn't somewhere where I could contact a lot of reinforcement. Like I needed to be working in front of the animals and working with the tools of learning and behavior change on a more intentional basis than thinking about how the antecedents and consequences I provide when I walk into their enclosure influence their behavior. Because as we know, learning never stops, but I'm talking about a bit more intentionally than that. And so I was openly looking for opportunities. Like, how can I do this? I don't want to leave this industry. I want to start a family. What does being on a income in this role mean for raising a family? And so I was looking for opportunities. An opportunity presented itself to me to create an online course with a friend who was proficient and skilled in doing that. Did that, and then I was very poor for a long time. For a year, it was a struggle. I had to borrow money off my mom. I had to um, gamble, risk. Like borrowing this money without knowing if I was going to be able to make this thing work. And they believed in me, luckily, until we stumbled upon the membership. I was like, what do we try this avenue? Because I tried online courses, I tried mentoring. And I remember when I first made the course, the Animal Training 101 course, I said to my mate who helped me make it, I was like, this is awesome. I'm so thrilled we did this. And he's like, now what? And I'm like, I don't, what do you mean now what? He's like, well, how are you going to like get this in front of people? And like, how are you going to find the right people to get in front of? And he was talking about marketing. And I was like, oh man, I have no idea. And I still don't really necessarily feel like that is my wheelhouse, but I've had to definitely figure that side of things out. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be here. Uh, and so I kind of just stumbled forward until we landed on the membership. And then I would say that no, I didn't envision this. I would say that I didn't create the membership. I would say that our members created the membership. Because, for example, our Facebook group, which is one of the most popular features of our membership, where our community comes together to problem solve and share ideas and celebrate each other's wins and successes. Like I just started that up so I could share webinar updates. I've had it, I can email people, but people don't necessarily see their email, so I can also post it in here just to ensure that our members at the time were more likely to be updated with the information they needed to get access to what I was including in the membership. And it just morphed. I remember at the time we had a WhatsApp group as well. Were you ever part of the membership when we had a WhatsApp? You're nodding your head. And that as well was for the same purpose, like disseminating updates. But I remember like one day I woke up and there was 130 messages. And I'm like, oh, great that this is reinforcing for the users and it's providing value, but how do I manage that with the resources I have, my time, and so I had to make a decision to pause that side of things because I didn't quite have the resources to manage that, but the community side of the Facebook community side of things filled the same purpose. And then I remember we had a fantastic community moderator back in the day called Carrie Kish. Shout out to Carrie and the work that she does with reptiles, especially. And I remember we had I just thought we were doing training. I was like, oh yeah, we're doing training. And then someone was having a bit of a hard time, struggling a little bit with the human side of running a business. And I thought, I don't know how to help with this. Like, I'm just training animals. How do I help people who are struggling emotionally with the challenges that come with training animals professionally? Um, and I was like, oh, this isn't Animal Training Academy, we're animal training. And I remember Carrie said to me, she's like, Ryan, like, you can't separate those two things. And I can't remember what words she used, but whatever she said to me was like a bit of a slap in the face to go, oh yeah, of course that makes a lot of sense. And so from that moment on, Animal Training Academy became more than that. It became a place to support you as a human doing your work, your important work as an animal training professional or I want to be really clear. We're not just animal training professionals. We have a lot of animal training enthusiasts in our community as well who don't do this for a full-time job or have a business or anything like that. But they are interested in learning about best practice, evidence-based tools and techniques and science to help them help their non-human learners. And have a look back, and now that's such a core component of what I do. I think we're more about helping human learners human well often than we are about the ethical animal training side of thing. I mean, that's where all of our content is and where all of our discussions are. We're very focused in our membership, but a lot of it comes back to treating each other with kindness and care, and then ultimately learning how to treat yourself that same way.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Really cool to hear just little bits of the different ways that Animal Training Academy has evolved. And I'm thinking you mentioned something to the effect of, one of the things that you were wanting to do one of the things you were wanting to do for yourself was to I don't remember if this is the right phrase or not that you use, but kind of raise the ceiling as far as be able to go a little bit further for yourself in your professional life than you would have been in the industry that you were in. And everything that you then described suggests that you've done the same thing with the impact that you're making as well, by moving your focus to something like Animal Training Academy. You've really increased the number of animals and people that you're able to influence. How many folks did you mentioned a number, I think, earlier of people who were in some way touching the content of ATA?
I would say we're over the 10 years would have easily, I don't know. I got no data to back this up. So are these Ryan's ego metrics or are they real metrics? They're they're anecdotal. Let's put it that way. I'd say over 100,000. I mean, directly, if we look at our email list, our social media reach, we do a lot of paid traffic on social media. One of the things I've done to look after my capacity is, for the last 5 years, really done minimal organic social media posting. That was just a decision. That was an intentional decision that lasted potentially a little bit longer than I initially thought, to protect my time and protect my. As we know, social media can provide you with lots of reinforcers once you get on there. So it wasn't just about the time taken to post things and engage with things. It was just about how I use those platforms. But if we think about the reach through the paid component of how that marketing side of animal training goes, and shout out to Jono Malta, who's has been working with us closely now for a couple of years to help manage that side of things. Luckily, I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, a lot of people. And then for me, it's not, we talk about ripples at Animal Training Academy, making ripples, as the name of this podcast alludes to. And then you think about, if there's 100,000 people, all of the animals, the non-human learners that those people have then contacted, and then all of the human learners they have contacted, and then all of the human learners who they have contacted, and the animals that they have worked with. It's it's a little bit overwhelming, I think, if you really start to think about that impact. And I'm just one of many amazing individuals and organizations out there doing the work. We're doing this together. I am by no means thinking that I'm working in isolation. I'm not. We're a global community and we're doing this work together.
Wonderful. And yeah, it's really cool how you have found a way to reach so many different people. And something else that I think is really cool is what you were describing as far as the support for the human side of things that we find in Animal Training Academy and in the ATA community, Facebook community earlier today. I commented on a post that was celebrating the 10 years that ATA has been in existence. And one of the things that I pointed out as something that really stood out to me and has had a huge impact on me and my life was a lot of the content that you've covered both in your podcast and that we've covered as a group within the private ATA community, centered around the growth mindset, and what a huge impact that has had on me, as well as other things on the kind of human side of things that we have focused on in Animal Training Academy that have really impacted my ability, I think, to effectively provide feedback to others and also effectively receive feedback myself and know how to ask for
Cool.
it.
I love that distinction.
So, yeah. So those things are just wonderful components of the ATA, I think.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that that is something that's landed with you. I was thinking, and one of the things that you and I threw back and forth about discussing today was what was some of the rememberable English is my first language. I'm good at it. Parts of the last 10 years, and I think the growth mindset content we created was, but for slightly different reasons. I've been doing a lot of work on myself recently, just on my needs and then how I bring those needs out and how I safely have needs in taking up spaces at the same time as other people's needs are taking up space, and not to minimize anyone else's needs, but not to minimize my own needs. And I got some examples of what that looks like, but it also made me think about when I'm doing this, and I'm thinking, oh, sometimes I suppress my needs to provide safety for myself. Like I don't want to rock the boat or anything like that. And just realizing what context I do that in and how that impacts me. And then some of the work I've been exploring is to do with where that comes from, and suggestions that it comes from childhood. And I was thinking about this, I don't understand where in my childhood that happened, but I remember about one instance, and I was at home and there was a cockroach. We got beautiful cockroaches here in New Zealand, and I was told to kill it, and I said, I don't want to kill it. I'll catch it and move it outside. And it's in my childhood, and I was told that that's silly. And because I was at university at the time and I was studying biology, and that my course of studies had given me a view of the world and living organisms that wasn't allowed to take up space in that moment. And so it made me think about these things, and maybe that's where that came from. Like I wasn't allowed to take up space in that moment. My views and my opinions and my perspective were said, there's no space for that here. And shout out to my parents, I love them. and do you know what I've learned in the last 5 years? Parenting is hard, man. So like I totally get it. But I was also words were said to me about my choice of reading material. Reading material that one might call self-help. And so, and you know, that desire to improve yourself or to grow yourself, there wasn't space for that there either. I'm making my parents sound terrible. Again, I love them. Parenting is hard. I get it. I was not an easy child to parent either. I was talking to my sister about this yesterday, actually. And so when I brought growth mindset to the community, and I got so much welcome, like let's take up space of this content. Like, thank you, Ryan, for bringing this here. Like, that was, to me, so validating to have that acceptance. And so I love that it's had that impact for you as well. And I know we're going to talk about that today. So I just thought I'd seize this opportunity to share that now, and share why that was so memorable for me to bring something where in times of my life and also with friends and in relationships, I think people, for a reason I haven't yet had time to explore, feel threatened in some way by the possibility that you could improve yourself through books that are called self-help books. Because I've just had so much pushback, and I'm framing it in the moment, and these aren't super well thought out thoughts for me. I'm exploring this all, but thoughts like that's not welcome here. That don't take up space where we currently are with that. And so to get that validation for me through Animal Training Academy, um, is yeah, was one of my most memorable moments. And I remember you, yeah, sharing that you were mowing your lawns and you were listening to it. I appreciate that. It was similar for a lot of people who hadn't really heard of this concept of the growth mindset before as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I was mowing a lawn and I like stopped in my tracks and was like, oh, like it just really, really resonated with me. But I really appreciate everything that you just shared. And thank you for sharing kind of a personal story with us like that about part of the reason that that pe-
Potentially.
potentially part of the reason that that was impactful for you. And it makes me kind of think that I think that culturally, generally, there's maybe just not a lot of, to use your words, a lot of space for those kinds of discussions, or maybe discussions around that kind of material are minimized or treated as not serious in some spaces. And so to bring that content to ATA and to have thoughtful, open discussions about it, I think I think a lot of people will relate to what you just shared and have had similar experiences themselves. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, well, if it's okay with you, just to share another example. And I think this will be so valuable to our listeners. And I just want to caveat before sharing this example that this is just an area I'm exploring now, and I'm building language in this area, and building understanding and building strength in how to navigate it. But I've realized, because Animal Training Academy is so much now about kindness and to yourself and to each other, and to take care of each other and to take care of yourself as well. And part of taking care of yourself, I think, is appreciating what your needs are, and appreciating if someone else doesn't have space for your needs or saying there's not space for them here. And we see that online with our community, unfortunately, I think on social media with regards to talking about tools and practices. That the kindest thing that one can do for oneself or for a relationship is to express needs. Because if you don't, then I think resentment builds up and it slowly eats away at your sense of identity and self or your relationships over time. So my example that I wanted to share is really new, but last Friday, Shelley, I did something I've never done before. I stopped work and I went to the swimming pool and I had a swim and then I had a spa and then I had a sauna. I was going for about 2 hours. Right. So when you talk about ceilings and like what you can achieve, like that's kind of one aspect to go like, this is cool that I can do that. But it made me realize that, so just hold that for a second, it made me realize something. And part of that realization came as well with a friend who was at our house the weekend before. It was a movie night. The kids came over. They had two kids, our two kids. No movie got watched. The entire floor was covered in popcorn and someone pooed in someone's room on the floor. So that's what movie night looks like. But the dad was there, and the dad was saying, he said to me, "How do you?" Because he runs a business. He said, "How do you like separate everything out, and how do you like separate family time and business time and look after yourself?" And he's very, very different business to me, not animal training related. And he said, "Because I hate it. I hate it." And I know people leave our industry and they want to do the training side of things, but the human side of things can be hard, and the running the business side of things can be hard, and marketing can be hard. Uh, and I realize that the some people might look at, and I don't know this, like I'm just exploring this, but I was sitting in the spa going, some people might look at this and be like, oh, look at Ryan, like going sitting in the spa, like, like first world problems, Ryan, like talking about the stuff you're talking about. But like the kindest thing I can do for Animal Training Academy is go have a spa, because I don't want to end up like that guy resenting the business. And if I don't look after myself, then resentment builds up. I've got no time. I'm so tired. I'm so stressed. And I kind of view it like, I kind of view that side of things like a tree. I was thinking like these are the fruits of my labor, right? I get to sit in the spa. And you know, I worked. Like I had my phone on me, so I was just like in the spa. I was like, why sit at a desk and work? I can sit in the spa and work. But I was like, these are the fruits of my labor. And I was like, to use that metaphor, I'm like a tree, but if you don't look after your tree, then everyone's going to take from it. Like my tree is going to provide shade for my kids. It's going to provide strength for my wife so she can lean on me when she needs strength, and it's going to provide fruit for my community so that the ATA community membership and wider can come and get nourished from this tree. But if I don't look after it, slowly that it doesn't produce as much fruit. It's not as strong. The roots aren't as strong. It doesn't get as much leaves. There's not as much shade for my kids. And I realized like that's like I was at risk of that. Like my tree was becoming a bit withered. So if I want to keep providing fruits for my community, like I have to nurture this tree. And so the kindest thing I can do, I can show up to ATA like tired because I'm a tired dad like most of the time and provide feedback like that, or I can show up like well rested and provide the best kinds of fruit. And so when thinking about needs, that's what Animal Training Academy has taught me a lot about recently, I think, is how do you be a strong tree and how do you water your plant, make sure it gets enough sunlight, and everything else it needs. How does it survive through storms? And that's where I've landed at the moment. And it tied back into the needs about the growth mindset, and tied back into I think what I like to do for members, especially who stick with us for a long time, is help them with the evidence-based animal training side of things, but also this human piece about showing up as your best self.
I think that's a great lesson to be learning, thing to be focusing on. I love the metaphor of a tree. That works really well for me. I like that a lot. And I think that over the years, you've really impressed me in this area, doing different things. Like I remember you went through a period of time where you were saying a dedicated period of time where you were saying no to lots of things. And I remember you working on a master schedule for yourself at one point. And I'm curious because I feel like a lot of us in the animal training world and just a lot of us in the world in general, whether we're training animals professionally or doing something else, are all really busy. And when we're in caregiving professions, it can feel like, oh, I've got to do this. And I've got to respond to this. And I've got to be there kind of like all the time, just kind of on meeting these needs. But if we're not meeting our own needs, then we risk doing as good of a job. We risk not doing as good of a job as we can meeting those other needs. So I'm just curious if you have any tips or ideas about antecedents that you've put in place or ways that you have found to reinforce yourself or setting good habits that facilitate you being able to meet your needs like that. What prompted you to go to the spa the other day and allowed there to be time for that? Or how do you make sure you meet your needs on a regular basis?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it recently. So thinking back to this business mentor, and I'll come back to what I've been thinking about a lot recently. And I've been thinking a lot recently. Everyone thinks a lot all the time, but like, I've been intentionally thinking about this recently, and exploring metaphors and learning the importance of language, to to help you like get a foothold on all of the thoughts that are swirling around in your head. So I've been like the metaphors have really been helping me to do that, to put language to something, and then I can share that with you, and you can say, "Oh, I really like that metaphor," and now suddenly I'm not carrying that alone anymore, and like I've been learning about the benefits of language for that as well, like to share your experience. And I didn't get it for a while when I was starting to think about this. I was like, why have I understand someone else's perspective, or why have they understand my perspective? Is that so helpful? I think it's just it takes a little bit of the weight off you. Like this isn't just an experience I'm having by myself right now. But so back to the needs part though. So there's this accountant in New Zealand. His name's Luke Kimes. He has this podcast called Keep the Change. If you're a Kiwi, I highly recommend listening to it. But he changed in the last 18 months. He just changed my entire outlook on finances and money and business. And he made me, I've been running ATA for 10 years. The first time I really understood a profit and loss statement. And I know there's lots of business owners out there who'd be like, I don't know what a profit and loss statement is, but neither did I. And like now, I'm like, how did I run this thing without knowing what a profit and loss statement was? I look at that thing every single week and it helps me understand. It's the hard data. Like I can be like, oh yeah, cool. Like Animal Training Academy is doing well. So what does that mean? Like here's the data from that side of our academy that is needed to do everything else about what I mean when I say that. And we've grown in ATA in the last 12 months, much larger than it's ever been. And it's come from that. So, we're helping more people now for sure. And we're having a bigger reach and we're making more ripples. And so Luke's like, oh, we've got this mentor program for those who are interested. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. Like you've changed my whole life. Like through listening to your podcast, like what am I going to get from one-on-one work with you? So I was like, sign me up. And so jumped into his program and he's the one who's like, oh, cool, Ryan. Like, you've got 20,000 people on your email list and 900 of them are members. Like, but you've got all of this knowledge and the skill and all you can help people. Like, but maybe those 19,000 people don't want a membership. Like, how can you bring value to them? What can you offer them? And I'm really grateful for bringing that frame to me. And so we started to explore ideas, put a couple out there. And then at the end of our 3-month program, I was like, I don't want to do that because I'm at capacity. And what I mean about being at capacity is, and this comes around to your saying no to things. It was like Luke's such a like, be more ambitious, do more, work harder. Like he's like, you don't have enough money, make more money. Like that's the solution. Like it sounds stupid, but it's also true. Like and we don't have to dive into what that means. But I was nervous about telling Luke, hey, thanks for this, but I'm not going to do it. Because I thought like, oh, this guy like that I am enjoying learning from and really want to build a relationship with, like, is like, oh, you're not ambitious enough. My ego like jumped in there. But what I realized was I'm at capacity. And one of the things I was thinking about at night time when I'm in my house with my kids, and Shelley, I talked to you about this quite a bit and mentioned it in the community. Like night times it's just a pressure. I call it a pressure cooker. It's just chaos. Like there's talking about needs, talking about other people needing things from you, like simultaneously, in amongst meltdowns and spills and bodily fluids going everywhere and barks and things spilling and stoves burning and everything is happening simultaneously day after day. It's total overstimulation. Like, and my brain just cannot deal with that amount of stimulation at the same time. I can't use the executive functioning parts of my brain. They just stop working. And then there's identity crises like, oh, but I'm a positive reinforcement trainer, but I just threatened my child that if they didn't go to bed, they're not going to get their apple tonight, right? And so there's all of that like confusion to deal with and disorientation. But I just realized I'm just in survival mode. Like I'm just surviving right now. I also realized Summer and Kaya don't need a perfect dad. They just need me, and I'm here, and that's all they need. And I'm human and I get frustrated and I get angry and I get happy and I get sad. And it's really important to communicate to them about that and to show them that and to repair when I don't. But it made me go, dude, you're at capacity every single day. Like you're entering survival mode every night. And like you can't add more. So I view like capacity, like the capacity of what? So I'm talking about my capacity and I view my capacity like a container. So when I'm saying I'm at capacity, it's like your container, dude, it's full and it's overflowing. You can't fit anything more in your container. You got a couple of options here. You can get a bigger container, right? Or you can fix up the leaks in your container. Or you can remove some of the stuff from your container so you can fit more in it. So I've been working on that from that metaphor, um, getting a bigger container is like building new skills. And I'm going to tie this into another metaphor, the plant metaphor soon. It's like building new skills, right? And okay, there's two more metaphors. I'll be really enjoying these. But like building new skills is really hard, right? Because we're saying like stop doing the thing that you do that works, that's got 41 years of your Ryan Cartlidge of learning history, and it is the best that you have right now to contact you with reinforcement in this context. Stop doing that and do something else instead that's got no reinforcement history, and you don't know, you've got to do the mechanical side of whatever that skill is, whether it's mentally or physically, and then you got to make contact with reinforcement. And you got to generalize that behavior across heaps of different contexts, right? Like that is hard. We know that's hard. And so the metaphor that I've been exploring there to kind of help me get to really understand how hard that is Susan Friedman says, like, positive reinforcement is like gravity, like it's a thing that exists on the planet. So we're kind of leaning into that metaphor to say like gravity exists and you can't change that. Like we're not in a position to change gravity. So we might want to fly to our friend's house, but we can't because gravity. Or we can jump on a plane, right, obviously, but we can't just be like, leave the earth with our feet and float over to our friend's house. And so behavior changes. It's kind of like gravity in a way. Like we can't just be like, oh yeah, cool, we're just going to stop doing this thing that's worked for us. Put you in a pressure cooker situation like with your kids and just expect behavior change. Like it's just you can't change gravity, right? And so behavior change becomes like you're blasting off into space in your rocket ship and like you're glued to your seat, right? And that seat's keeping you safe. And like it's really hard to move out of that seat. But that's what behavior change can feel like, I think. When we as adult humans are trying to build new skills, especially in communication, or especially if we're in relationships where there's a long history of patterns forming in those relationships. Until you break through the atmosphere and now you're suddenly floating and you're in space, right? And that's really cool. And then you get into orbit and like now you're stuck there. But then the container's like you're trying to build your container bigger by adding those new skills. So that's pretty challenging. I think language helps me with that, in so much as building a bigger container. Fixing up some of the leaks means like, so for example, I hate looking for things. What a waste of time looking for things. So I have like devices on my key ring where I can like find my phone, like beep beep, and like it'll make my phone ring wherever it is. So I never have to look for my key. Well, I do have to look for them, but like that's a simple process. Same with my phone. Push the button on my keys and it finds my phone for me. Or I'd be like, hey Siri, where are you? Like the technology is great there as well. But Siri just said I'm here. One of the items that I noticed that I was looking for a lot in my house was the TV remote. I can never find a TV remote. So I went out and purchased 5 TV remotes, right? So now we've got 6 TV remotes in our lounge. And the longest I've spent looking for a TV remote, before it might have been like 5 minutes, like buried like in the couch somewhere deep. First, like now, like it's probably like 10 seconds. I've brought all of that time back and I've given myself capacity. So we can fix up leaks like that. And then removing stuff out of your container, I think there's things that are in your container are other people's needs or other earthlings' needs. They might not necessarily be humans. So looking where you can, and carrying out people's needs is not a problem. I mean, I've also got a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, so that's totally fine. And I'm a husband and I'm a son and I'm a friend. Like I don't mind carrying other people's needs, but sometimes I think it's unhealthy, the needs that we carry. And so identifying that and confronting that. And again, that is the kindest thing you can do for those relationships, because if you don't, resentment builds. And I think erasure of self kind of develops as well. Like, example of, I didn't get validation from Animal Training Academy about reading the growth mindset. Like I might have kept that part of me like hidden for longer or not felt safe to share it in spaces. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of taking stuff out of your container so that you can fit more into your container. So that's a little bit of how I've been thinking about that recently. And then, when you're building new behavior or you're building new skills or you're building new language, You, for example, go to the pool during the day. Let's go with that one because we've talked about it and it's just come into my mind easily now. Like that has to become routine. Like not necessarily going to the spa. And I could do that on the weekend, but I've got kids and it's hard, and I don't, there's a cost to my wife if I just go off by myself to the spa on the weekend, So I'm doing it during work hours because I specifically want the weekend for my family. So the that behavior and uh, the thought process where you know that that is actually the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your community and for your kids and for your wife is to go and look after your tree. Like that, building that behavior and that thinking. I also kind of it's not like it's your tree anymore. It's like it's a brand new green shoot that's growing up in the forest floor, and something's broken in the trees above. That's your old behavior and your old way of thinking. That's kind of letting a little bit of light through, but you have to nurture that as well. And like it's going to be a while. It could be a while before that green shoot is big enough to start producing fruit. I think it's the same with behavior change as well in ourselves. We're looking to make capacity bigger. Like you've got to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and then implement it. And it might be years before it really starts to produce fruit. And I think that's in contradiction to wanting fast wins or fast solutions, and coming up with an idea and implementing it, being all excited about it, which I totally encourage. But then the hard part is doing the work day in, day out, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, so you can really produce the fruit that can feed you, can feed your family, and can feed your community. So that's where my mind's been thinking about all of this stuff recently.
Those metaphors they're all going to stick with me, Ryan. I really like the container one that you were just talking about. And I like it as, I think could be useful for me and my own behavior and thinking about that. I really like the way you talked about, you can't change gravity and talking about trying to change behavior when you're sort of in the middle of the pressure cooker, And I think that for me, I recognize that with dogs, when I'm working with people and their dogs, I recognize that we shouldn't be working in the pressure cooker setting, right? We need to be building behavior way outside of that setting. But for myself as a human, when when I'm not able to exhibit some new behavior that I'm wanting to try to work on in a pressure cooker type setting, and I do the things that have always worked for me, I can be kind of hard on myself sometimes. So,
yeah, but you can't change gravity. Like that's the beauty of it, eh? It's like, oh, I'm trying to change gravity. Like this is just gravity, and I've got a little green shoot, but it's going to take time for that green shoot to turn into something that's going to produce fruit. So just give it time, keep looking after it, keep watering it, keep the sunlight on it, keep it safe from things that are going to eat it, and just nurture it and give it time. Yeah, don't fight gravity.
yeah, very helpful. I love it. Yeah, very good. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm definitely going to remember the metaphors of the tree, the container, and the little green shoot for sure.
Yeah, and the big tree, so there's like two trees you got to nurture. Like one's just yourself, that's always been there, that is currently there, and is providing shade, and is providing strength, and is already providing fruit. But like, what quality of fruit is it providing? How much shade is it providing? Like, how much strength is it providing? Like, how healthy are the roots? So that's the self-care part for me, and that metaphor fits in really nicely there for me as well. And then the behavior change or it might be like internal verbal behavior, so like your thoughts, like in kind of understanding that how kind it is for me to go to the spa, like for everyone. Like that's a really kind thing I can do because if I don't, then resentment starts to creep in, and I could be like my friend who came to my house who hates his work and hates his business, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think that I and everybody else who's part of the Animal Training Academy community is very glad that you are nurturing your tree, Ryan. So
Right. When the kids let me.
with I bet that they're part of nurturing your tree too. I bet they it works in different ways with them, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. They're the reason the tree exists.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think, 800, 900. How many members in Animal Training Academy
Yeah,
now?
it's hard to know because 800 is a Facebook group. We just passed 800 in there. And that includes podcast guests and to our guest on our main podcast. I've always offered complimentary membership access. And then we've got teams. So if you know, Shelley, you work closely with me and the Moonlit Sanctuary team in Melbourne, Australia, because they're so active on our website forum. So, that's one membership, but 20 people. So we've got them in there. We don't have all of them in there. We've got some of them in there. So it's hard to know exactly how many people are in the membership because a lot of people aren't in the Facebook group that are part of the membership for various reasons. So yeah, between 800 to 1,000 at the moment, I would say.
And did you anticipate that there would be that many members? Was that a bit of a milestone for you when we reached like the 800 mark on the Facebook group or?
Yeah, not intentionally. It's I wasn't necessarily aiming for a specific number. I think for now it's ensuring. I mean, we've grown to this size, and then I think if you look at the percentage of that community that has engaged in the group, just this past week, it's we're hitting close to 50% of people engaging daily, which is ridiculous. Like that part excites me because I could have 800 people in there and like 10 people like using it. But like if we've got, we're getting, that's something I'll be stoked with. If we got like at least 50% engaging daily, and what engaged means like, they might see the post in their Facebook feed and pause for whatever seconds that Facebook calls engagement. I'm not too sure, but if we're like having that kind of reach and we're providing value in that way, because I feel like Facebook's not going to show stuff to people unless it's valuable because they want you to stay on their platform, right? That's how the algorithm works. And people aren't going to keep coming back unless it's valuable. So like, for me, that's more of an important metric is like how are we actually serving our members, whether it's 100 or 800. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about it. With the team I have, which includes you, Shelley, of course, as one of our happiness engineers in our community, and Belinda and Jono and Lisa Tuthill from Melbourne, who's now doing some work with us. Just grateful for that. And I think that's probably allowed and facilitated this now.
I'm curious if you could share just a couple of the most reinforcing things about about developing, creating Animal Training Academy and the work that you do for the Academy today. What things excite you? Clearly, you were excited about half the membership on Facebook engaging in some way with the material. What other kinds of things excite you and reinforce you in the community?
I think really helping an individual member. I think just providing learning opportunities and then hearing how that's landed for people. I think providing kindness for people. And when I say kindness, what I mean is just an environment where safety is prioritized, where contact with reinforcement is easy and where the antecedents are set up for success. But I think people join ATA and are surprised by that. I think that we nowadays I have to moderate on a level where I have to privately message people and directly address certain behaviors in our community. Like I can't even remember the last time I actually did that. Like private message someone to address something because it was putting safety at risk so much that it required that level of intervention, that it was detrimental to the community as a whole. I can't remember the last time I did that. And I think that's because of culture, which is a shared set of, I'm going to define it as a shared set of values and beliefs and behaviors. People enter into their culture now. And I think that is I hesitate because it's my community and I don't want to sound like I'm just tooting my own horn, which I'm totally fine of doing, but I just don't want to. I don't want to come across as biased just because it's Animal Training Academy and I'm the founder. But I truly believe that people aren't used to that. Like these people who really like join and step in and engage are like, oh wow. A lot of people tell me I'm not comfortable posting. And that's not because of Animal Training Academy, that's because of the trauma that they've experienced elsewhere. Of course, I can't control that. So I appreciate it and I respect, and that's fine. But for those, even those people who just observe, and for those that do, and for those that slowly build that trust over time, I just think we do provide something unique. And I'm really proud of that. And I love doing that. I love doing that with you and Belinda. I mean, the things behind the scenes that our members don't see or no one sees is you, me, and Belinda talk every single day, whether it's about the community or just sending each other's silly photos of our animals. Cute photos of Wednesday, your cat, when she was a kitten. I think it's the latest topic of conversation in our group chat. Just that group of me, you, and Belinda is just something I enjoy every single day, just chatting with you guys. And then when something does come up that's challenging and I want to throw it to you guys, I've got your support and you have been working with us now for years, both of you. So kind of really, and for you and Belinda, like I didn't have to be like, oh, train you up. Like, I can't shoulder tap you because you guys were at ATA, like you were exactly what I was looking for. And so I get a lot of joy from that. And then, I get to jump on podcasts and webinars of Susan Friedman and Ken Ramirez and Chirag Patel, and the list goes on and on and on. We don't have enough time for me to say the amazing people that I get to meet and connect with and learn from, and become friends with, because there's no pedestals here. Like we're all just people, and we're all humans, and there's amazing human beings that I just get to meet, learn about, share parts of our lives with. There's a lot. Like I get a lot of reinforcement, and I like the business side of things. I don't always find it easy. I often find it stressful, but I enjoy that side of things, especially over the last couple of years, learning from Luke and learning about business, with regards to actually looking at my balance sheet and my profit and loss statement and all of these things, which I ignored I didn't ignore, I just didn't understand. It's too scary. Like, I don't know what that means. Like looking at, that document on my computer, like, but I don't understand any of this. But learning about that. So I really enjoy that side of things. And then being creative. I worked in a lot of zoos and I worked in big zoos with organizational structure that was different than small family run parks. And I always appreciated working in small family run parks because there wasn't red tape and you could have an idea and like pitch it to your boss and he'd be like, yeah, cool, go ahead. Like, and that's it. Like, and off you go and you pick up a hammer and you pick up a screwdriver and you build something and you train something. You can't necessarily do that in larger organizations with structure. There's a lot of managers and there's a lot of red tape. But with Animal Training Academy, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. Like it's great. I mean, I wouldn't give that up for anything. Like I love that. That's why the membership's here, and that's why this podcast is here, and that's why the next whatever thing we do will be there. Yeah, so lots and lots and lots and lots could go on probably.
Well, I'm very grateful that you find lots of reinforcers in Animal Training Academy because that means that we're going to keep getting to enjoy the fruits of your tree.
Fruits of my labor.
The fruits of your labor. And
our labor.
And your what you said about the culture in Animal Training Academy. I mean, you should be so proud of the culture that you have built there for sure. I've not seen any community in social media anywhere that operates in the way that that community does. And it makes me think about the very beginning, or back in the beginning of the episode when we were talking about the growth mindset and there not being space for certain conversations or certain ways of looking at things and talking about things sometimes. And I think that the culture that you've created in Animal Training Academy is one that allows for space for all kinds of ideas and conversations and just ways of discussing any number of things in a really safe way. So I hope that you're really proud of that. It's a beautiful space.
I'm proud, and I think and maybe it's just me being cliche, but I just my mind goes to is not I didn't build it. Yeah, like was steering the ship a little bit, but like we built it, and not just you and me, like the community built it. We've I think managed to now through the content we put out, the webinars we do, attract the like-minded individuals whom already are on the path and aligned with the values that we have at Animal Training Academy. But yeah, and again, the risk of being cliche, like that's just where my mind goes. So I didn't build this thing. I am proud of it, but I don't feel like it was just me.
Well, I could keep talking about Animal Training Academy. I could keep talking about these wonderful metaphors that you are bringing to the table today. And
I don't have any more. It's just those ones.
Oh, then I guess I couldn't keep talking about that. We'll be done with that. But for the sake of time, well, I could keep talking to you about all kinds of things. For the sake of time, I think we're getting close to the end of our time here, so I should think about wrapping up. But before we do, I know that you used to always end the main podcast show, and I think you sometimes still do, but used to always end it by asking something to the effect of, where do you see positive reinforcement animal training going in the next 5 to 10 years? So similar to that, I would like to ask you, where do you see Animal Training Academy going in the next 10 years, or where would you like it to go in the next 10 years?
Yeah, just bringing even more value. Well, it's the same value, but to more people. I think if we can achieve that and do so with the growing pains that come with growth, and look after myself and my family. And I've been saying this for 5, 6, 7 years. Like I would love to step away just to be able to do that. Not that I would do that, but like one thing that I want to do is grow it so that I'm able to do that for multiple reasons. One, so that I can do the most important work, which is the visionary stuff. That is one of my strengths, and the content creation and running that side of things. And there's a lot of stuff I don't need to be doing, but I do because for various reasons. So I'd love to be able to do that. But secondly, like I want Animal Training Academy to be like Karen Pryor Academy. I don't want something to happen to me and then it all to go kapunk. Like, I want it to be its own thing and not be dependent on me, because then it will be a valuable asset, not just for me, not just for my family, not just for all of our members, but it won't be, it will just be a valuable asset for all those people, regardless of if I'm here or not, because anything could happen to me at any time. And that, if the unthinkable did happen, like at the moment, it saddens me to think that quite possibly it wouldn't be able to continue because people just wouldn't know what to do. And there's no one to just immediately step into that role. So that's a big focus for me, is to try to think. And I'm only 41. Like I know there's people in our industry who are much wiser than me in the amount of years they have, and they're thinking about the same things. Like I've got time, but yeah, I want to create something that lasts.
Well, I hope that ATA lasts for forever and ever. And thank you for creating it. And happy birthday to Animal Training Academy. excited to see what comes in the next 10 years. And I'm sure you will figure out a way to do exactly what you're just talking about, making sure that it lives on well past the next 10 years as well.
I hope so.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today. For myself, on behalf of everybody listening today, thank you for taking time to share with us a little bit today and to celebrate this milestone for Animal Training Academy.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We do, of course, appreciate all of you tuning in as well. And if you have enjoyed this episode and are interested in carrying on the conversation about working with the animals in our lives in the most positive, most fun, and most choice-rich ways, then as mentioned at the start of this episode, the Animal Training Academy community is waiting for you. Head on over to www.atamember.com and click on the membership button in the main menu to learn more about what members are describing as the Netflix social media platform for behavior geeks. That's it for this episode, though. Thank you so much for listening. You'll hear from us again soon.